Welcome to Inglet Mirror. Today, let's go through the life and philosophy of Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon was one of the leading figures in natural philosophy and in the field of scientific methodology in the period of transition from the Renaissance to the early modern era. As a lawyer, member of parliament, and Queen's Counsel, Bacon wrote on questions of law, state, and religion, as well as on contemporary politics. But he also published texts in which he speculated on possible conceptions of society and he pondered questions of ethics, even in his works on natural philosophy. In a letter he wrote at the age of 32, Francis Bacon said, I have taken all knowledge to be my province. He had conceived a huge plan for the total reorganization and development of human knowledge. He was deeply concerned not only with a method for acquiring knowledge, but also with the question how once gained it could best be used to increase human dignity and greatness. When Francis was 12, he was sent to study at Trinity College, Cambridge. His interests and competence, even as a young man, were wide. The law, politics, philosophy, history, and literature fell easily within his scope, and during his teens he conceived the plan to organize and deploy the totality of human knowledge. He entered the House of Commons in 1584. He was eager for high office, but his maiden speech displeased Elizabeth, and she never granted him the preferment he sought. Lytton Strachey said of him, he was no stripped frieze, he was short silk. In 1618, Bacon was appointed to the Lord Chancellorship, the highest legal position under the Crown. Disaster struck almost immediately. He was charged with bribery, admitted the charge, and was sentenced to a fine of £40,000, disqualification from Parliament, exclusion from court, and imprisonment during King James's pleasure. His confinement to the Tower lasted only a few days, but the disgrace of this episode entered his public career, although he continued to study and write as zealously as before. He died in 1626 of a feverish bronchitis brought on by the chill he suffered when he filled a chicken's body with snow to see if the flesh could be preserved by the cold. Bacon is well known for his lucid, epigrammatic essays. The first 10 of these were published in 1597. His Advancement of Learning was published in 1605. Most of the works relating to his major enterprise, the Great Instauration, were published from 1620 onwards. In 1620, the plan of the Instauration was published along with its second part, the Novum Organum. In 1623, the first part of the Instauration, which was a revised and Latinized version of the 1605 Advancement of Learning, was published under the title De Augmentis Sanctarum. The word instauration means restoration. Bacon's aim was to restore to humankind the dominion over the universe that was lost with the fall of man. In advocating the unrestrained but highly organized acquisition of knowledge, which for him was the way to restore such dominion. He therefore distinguished sharply in the preface to the great instauration between what he called pure and uncorrupted natural knowledge and the proud desire of moral knowledge to judge of good and evil. In the Novum Organum, Bacon discusses other impediments to learning. He names four kinds of idols: idols of the tribe, idols of the cave, idols of the marketplace, and idols of the theatre. The idols of the tribe arise from human nature itself, from the fact that the tribe or race of men, in their perceptions, tend to distort what is before them. The idols of the cave are the idols of the individual man. They are generated by each person's individual propensities, idiosyncrasies, and prejudices. Idols of the marketplace are formed through the intercourse and association of people about their daily activities. The idols of the theatre are the dogmas, systems, and theories that lodge in the minds of men. Bacon's own method of overcoming all obstacles to the acquisition of sure and useful knowledge was that of induction. Like many of his contemporaries, including Hobbes and Galileo, he rejected much of the prevailing Aristotelian orthodoxy. He was confident that his own inductive method would correct all this and abolish all the distortions produced by the idols. Induction is a procedure by which general laws or principles are derived from a number of particular instances. His own inductive method, as expounded in the Novum Organum, is related to his particular notion of forms. He believed that the underlying structure of nature is quite simple and consists of a basic set of forms, discovery of which will enable us to understand the multifarious complexity of the surface of the world as experienced and understood through the senses. Baconian forms are the forms of what he describes as simple natures. Simple natures may be shared by substances and are such things as hot, wet, cold, heavy, and so on. They are like an alphabet of nature from which many things can be composed. He refers to these forms as laws. They are the determinants and the elements of the fundamental structures of the world. The closer his work is studied, the more it shows itself as a vital and influential part of the great 17th century confluence of intellectual and cultural developments. In a broader cultural perspective, Bacon has been seen, in spite of his unequivocally royalist stance, as the eloquent voice of Puritanism and the Revolution. Charles Webster, in his book The Great Instauration, Science, Medicine and Reform, 1626 to 1660, wrote the following: Bacon's philosophy seemed to be providentially designed for the needs of the Puritan Revolution. Bacon gave precise and systematic philosophical expression to the anti-authoritarianism, intectivism, and utilitarianism, which were such important factors in the Puritan scale of values. In the 18th century, he was recognized by the French Enlightenment as the originator of scientific advance. And in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the Scottish philosophers of common sense praised him without reservation. The 20th century did not receive him so well. This is to overlook what much of his greatness actually consisted in: the grandeur of his prophetic vision of science in service of mankind, and the transmission through his writings of his infinite zest for and delight in the whole realm of learning. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, please share and subscribe.